Alright, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Disconnected, the real story of the transgender explosion. The real story behind the transgender explosion. Excuse me. Wow. Disclaimer, this documentary contains graphic content that might not be suitable for some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Yeah, like seeing a teenage girl remove her clothes while after she has had her breasts mutilated. That might be considered a little graphic content. As a matter of fact, when I started watching this in the car, my son said, "Turn it off. I'm trying to eat." Over the past few years, a transgender tsunami has swept the nation, completely overtaking the medical, educational, and counseling industries and forever altering hundreds of thousands of young girls' lives. So the trend nowadays is for girls to have their breasts removed and they start taking testosterone from now until the end of time, just so that they can be different. What is going on? How did it come to this? And who is behind it? Filmmaker and father Don Johnson traveled the country to find out. I think Don Johnson picked some of the speakers here. He picked the wrong speakers. Some of them. One of them is a Ratzinger fanatic, the great heretic Joseph Ratzinger, who said that evolution is true and creation is false. He denied the creation story of the Bible. Basically, Joseph Ratzinger, the hero of the conservative priests. Matter of fact, the pastor at one of my churches keeps mentioning his name as some kind of defender of the traditional Latin Mass. He didn't call it that. He called it the extraordinary form and the ordinary form, as if there should be a distinction between the two. We call, in this family, we call the ordinary form the Luther Mass, and we call the extraordinary form the Old Mass under the auspices of the Luther Mass. So there's no distinction between the two. It's a false dichotomy. And that's why the people who worship Ratzinger as some kind of heroic post-conciliar Holy Father is kind of ridiculous and stupid. He was just as much as a modernist and a heretic as all the other popes of the modern era after World War II, or I should say during World War II. That's some problems with Pius XII, even because Pius XII, he appointed the Vatican II bishops. He refused to go to the concentration camps like the suffering servant that he was supposed to be. And he could have qualified the Assumption dogma by saying that Mary died and went to heaven, or Mary fell asleep and went to heaven, depending on which side you're on. I think I'm on the St. Alphonsus Liguori side. He could have just sided with St. Alphonse, and he could have put an end to the controversy. But no, Pius XII didn't do that. He didn't do his job. All right. Disconnected. I say skip this. It tries to promote the myth of the nature versus nurture type thing. They try to say that the transgender activists believe that you're biologically born transgender. And they're trying to say that, this so-called gender dysphoria can be treated only if you get the parents involved. Something like that. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this. I don't think they do either. Even as a kid, you're a unique sovereign individual, and they seem to be trying to discredit individualism. In other words, each person is responsible for their own behavior. They're trying to say that kids are not responsible for their own behavior. Only their parents can tell them what to do. All right. Here it is. Disconnected, 2022, 1 hour, 28 minutes. Is that an 8? I need my reading glasses. 1 hour, 28 minutes. Gets a 6.5 out of 10. Pretty high rating for IMDb, but only 24 ratings. Very obscure documentary here, which we love on this channel. We just do not like the speakers. The one of the transgender persons who detransitioned became pregos and had a baby. She calls it hyper-libertarianism, the whole idea of the transgender cult. And that makes absolutely no sense to me. Libertarianism is anti-war, anti-state. Has nothing to do with mutilating your own body so that you're a different person and people perceive you differently. That's a whole different thing. And the way to combat transgenderism is just to look at the gospel. What does the gospel say? Does God want you to mutilate your own body? I'm not even sure if God allows tattoos. That's a good question. That's up for debate. It is not a dogma. It is not part of a magisterium. One of the speakers, this so-called lay theological expert, he even goes so far to say that Christ is saying, going back to creation and saying that man and a woman. But then you have the the rare occurrence of the hermaphrodite, which is not explained. Just says they just kind of dismiss it in this one as, oh, well, that's a small percentage. Okay. Um, so that controversy over hermaphrodite wasn't really answered. They just kind of dismiss it like it's so insignificant, it doesn't even exist. And the interesting part is that they even make the same argument as Doris Witchman's "Let Me Die a Woman," that the male to female transgender wants to chop off his dingling more than anything. And let me tell you, "Let Me Die a Woman," the exploitation movie, is 100 times better than this. This was painful to watch. Carl Olson, the editor of the Catholic World Report, is a complete ignoramus. He shouldn't even be on this. Carl Truman sounds like a reasonable guy. Who else is in this? People that I've never seen before. Abigail Favale shouldn't be in this. Christopher West, the so-called theological expert, he doesn't belong in this movie. Daisy Strongen, the detransitioner, who talks about hyper-libertarianism, whatever that is. Please explain. Please define what hyper-libertarianism means. So most of the people in this, including but not limited to the great heretic Ratzinger himself, they just make up a bunch of nonsense. Oh, hermaphrodites. That's just the fringe part of society. They don't exist, really. It's only man and a woman. A transgender tsunami is sweeping the nation, especially among young girls. What is going on? How did it come to this? Who's behind it? Filmmaker and father Don Johnson traveled the country to find out. There are no reviews on this. I'm the first one to review it. Release date October 20th, 2022 in the US, country of origin United States. Official site Runaway Planet Pictures, OTT, and you can even jump to their website from the IMDb page. Language English. Filming locations Chicago, Illinois, USA. The interview at Daisy Strongman's home. Production company Runaway Planet Pictures. Box office $100,000 estimated. Now that is a low budget film. Obscure and low budget, which we like on this channel. We just didn't like the speakers here or the leader of the flock feeding people to the wolves, aka Ratzinger. So we've got runtime 1 hour 28 minutes. Decent runtime. I've got to go hunt down that Chinese lady with the in-law unit 4 blocks away. Supposedly she's home at 9 a.m. on Saturday. She's not. She takes about 5 days to respond to email, and she doesn't answer the door. So I'm going to try a couple more times today and on Labor Day at 9 a.m., which according to her neighbor is the time when she's actually answering the door. But my neighbor did say that he was going to ask others to rent me a room. So I've got 4 people now helping me find a room. I might end up moving into the rectory at one of the churches that I attend here in San Francisco, Star of the Sea Church. The pastor is conveniently on sabbatical, writing a couple books in Ireland there, and I don't get along with him at all. So that'll be interesting. My son somehow doesn't see me living with the two neocon warhawk evangelicals calling themselves priests inside the rectory. Now there's more than two. There's like four of them. They got a Kenyan priest and an Argentinian priest and some dude from St. Stephen, I think. I think he came from St. Stephen. And he just learned the Latin Mass. They gave him a pre-62 missal. And he didn't even know the difference. Born trans, it's woke crap. Oh, Adrian's in the chat room. Woke crap, obscure, love obscure. I'm surprised we don't have the fun police monitoring the chat. Does she have hairy armpits? No, she does not. She's got very skinny arms. And she's like a toothpick. And then she gets her breasts removed. She looks like a geeky flat-chested girl with scars under her nipples. It's very uncomfortable, and I don't know if you want to watch a teenage girl with scars under her nipples, but that's the beginning of the movie. I guess it's intended to shock, and it's almost exploitive, like the Doris Wishman movie, Let Me Die a Woman, which is a far better movie. I recommend watching Let Me Die a Woman. That movie is wild, man. Doris Wishman. Anyways, here we go. Let's go down the list. I'm not recommending this one. I'm giving it a 1 out of 5. But it does get a higher 6.5 out of 10 from a whopping 24 raters on IMDb. 0 reviews, by the way. Mine is the first. Once again, this channel is the first to review a movie similar to Kama Sutra, A Tale of Love, which has over 500,000 views. Hey, where's the White Warrior? Let's see how many times I can move the camera. Oh, there he is. Steve Reeves. The White Warrior. There he is. Make way. Make way for Steve Hercules Reeves as the White Warrior. Cool. Yeah, we love this movie poster. Steve Reeves was great in Jailbait, man. Jailbait is one. I was telling Karate Man, Jailbait is one of my top 10 movies of all time. We love Ed Wood on this channel. Okay, let's go down the list. Enough about Disconnected. I felt like I was disconnected from the movie, and I had to keep rewinding it because it was kind of a dull topic, not really all that fascinating, at least not nearly as fascinating as the way Doris Wishman portrayed it. Although they did delve into some of the kind of thing about this compulsion almost to chop off one's dingling. It's almost like a My coworker called it a psychological disorder. But like I said, each person is responsible for their own behavior. Even when you're a kid, you know the difference between right and wrong. When you're the age of 7, according to the Catholic Church, which is kind of an arbitrary age, but still, you should know not to mutilate your body, not to change your sex assignment at birth. It's just going against God's will, I guess. There's no other way to describe it. I mean, you're born in God's image, and you should keep it that way. You shouldn't try to alter it or mutilate it. That's just my 2 cents, worth nothing after inflation. All right, Mask of Death, number 1, 1996. Then you've got number 2, Little Tough Guy, 1938, followed by Deadly Target, 1994. So I've got a couple of Karate Man recommendations coming in the pike, but I do have one Adrian recommendation on here. It's called I Spit on Your Grave remake. Yeah, it's down here somewhere. I got rid of all the duplicates on my list. It took me like a half an hour, and I eliminated 200 duplicates. Sometimes Karate Man will recommend a movie that's already on my list, and I Spit on Your Grave 2010 is number 18 on my list. Cool. Original I Spit is better. Yeah, the extended rape scene. It goes on for like 15 minutes, dude. I mean, mate. Sorry. I'm talking to an Australian, not a California. It goes on for 15 minutes, mate. And it's brutal. It's hard to watch. The I Spit on Your Grave original rape scene from the 1980s. Or whenever it was filmed. I don't remember the precise date. Original has the hairy beaver. You trying to say it's bald in the remake? Just like watching Barry J. Gillis, The Killing Games. You get to see the 5-year-old genitals on a grown woman. Oh, it's trimmed. 1978. Okay, so I was off by a few years. That's why we like 1970s movies on this channel. They're brutal, and they make you wince, just like Salo, or what's another one that's hard to watch? 1978 Full Hair, but no hairy armpits or hairy legs, just hairy bush, no hairy belly button. That's how it was in the late 70s, huh? Maybe in the early 70s you'd catch a hairy armpit or two in Flesh Gordon. Cool. Adrian's in the chat room, and he didn't leave in a jiffy. We like 70s movies on this channel, but I'm going to delve into the Karate Man 90s junk wax era, and then we've got the late 30s Depression era Little Tough Guy. So that's going to be on the agenda for this weekend. Hopefully I don't have to spend too much time looking for new plays, but I'd like to move tomorrow or Monday, ideally, so I can get my $200,000 in 60 days. My attorney says the the greedy redeveloper is never going to buy the house because the New York Jews who own this place, or one half owners, I should say, the odd couple from New York, the Jewish couple, they hate Chinese people. They do not trust anybody Chinese. They will never sign the papers over to the Chinaman redeveloper. So he's not going to be able to buy this house, according to my attorney. And and the guy thinks he's going to wire me the money on Tuesday if I moved out by Monday. But of course, that's never going to happen because he's not legally bound to pay me one penny, and he's not the owner of the house. so so I'm listening to my attorney. I just told him, I got 4 people trying to find me a room to rent, and I'm just gonna keep banging on ringing the doorbell at this house until I get an answer. She's not responding to my email. She's just saying, "Well, the neighbor, he goes by a different name, and why isn't he renting out his room to you? And how did you get to know him?" She's not offering to help me. She's just asking me all these stupid questions. I just want to tell her, okay, let me see the dang rooms and tell me how much they cost. Don't answer my questions with more questions. Oh, I really hate looking for a new place to live. That and trying to find a new job. That's what really irritates me. That's why I prefer to go through a temp agency and then they hire me permanent, which I've done many times throughout my career. Believe it or not, that was right when I graduated from college. I was a temp, and then they hired me permanent. So I've done it at least a few times in my career, and it's much easier than going through the formal interview process and all that. Although you do have to do a Microsoft Teams interview, even if you are going to be a temp, but they give you softball questions. It's just more to gauge if you're pleasant to work with, kind of deal. So, anyways, responded to my mate. All right. Well, sorry for the shaky camera. I hope you enjoyed my review, and we'll keep going down the list, getting to the Tubi stuff. I added some more Tubi stuff to the bottom of my list. Then I deleted the duplicates. I added Hacked Horror Film Massacre 2017, Bleach 2022, Into the Gravel Pit 2025, Hook 2025, Assassin's Guild 2024, Fetish Dolls Die Laughing 2012, Mummy Dearest 2022, Stranded 2023, and A Brilliant Monster 2019. Some of the lower rated Tubi movies on IMDb. We like to add those to the bottom of our list, and we'll get to them eventually We'll get to cocaine crabs from outer space and Trump versus the Illuminati. We'll get to those eventually. I should have listened to Adrian a long time ago. So I should have just dumped Netflix uh, long before they stopped sending me DVDs. And I should have just added all the Tubi movies. uh, Hindsight is always 2020, right, Adrian? Anyways, cool. I guess Adrian left. Oh, yeah, Adrian left the room. I'll end this and I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Later.